86% believe that the system is rigged.
I am really here to make sure that we make Mitt Romney the next president of the United States of America.
His record when he was in Massachusetts had most positions are direct contradictions to the ones that he proclaims now.
It's the MI double tizzle.
Game on.
I believe that I am that true conservative.
I've decided to return to Texas.
I will not be continuing in this race.
I reassess. We're headed to New Hampshire and then to South Carolina.
These are all friends of mine.
And now, Mr. Know-It-All.
Here we go. JD here. Good to have you on board. We thank you, as always, for taking some of your time to spend it with us here on the program where we like our flying a little turbulent, our women a little crazy, our politics a little messy. Marcelo working the program for us on the boards. Brad producing the show. Emails at the website. And the poll question up there for you today at the website. Let's kick it off with this. The United States Supreme Court is hearing arguments from network TV broadcasters led by Fox that they should be allowed to push the boundaries of profanity and nudity anytime, anywhere they please, as provided by the First Amendment. What do you say to that? 14%, I agree. Let it rip. F-bombs, warts and all. 24% say, I agree to a point, but 34% say disagree. There has to be a limit. And 28% using reason and logic saying, well, I'm going to need to know who's going to be nude. We're going to need to know your answer there at the website or here at 800-876-4123. So we've got F-bombs, nudity, we've got binge drinking, and smoke pot to save your lungs. Did you see that report? I don't smoke pot because a man's got to know his limitations, but I'm just trying to figure out who was paying for this study. Pot smoking does not damage lung health. As a matter of fact, they said that you could actually increase lung capacity if you smoke over the course of your lifetime 2,555 joints.
That's a lot
bowls of that. Is it 2,555 joints? I gotta imagine it is.
How big you roll the joints.
Yeah. But you say, these people are skewing the numbers. It's obviously the agenda of the pot smokers, the hippies, the Occupy Wall Street crowd. That's it. That's what it's all about. Did you see this one about Bayer? Food and Drug Administration advisor said the benefits of 4 popular Bayer birth control pills outweighed the blood clot risk. What they didn't disclose is that 3 of the advisors have had ties to Bayer, serving as consultants, speakers, or researchers. 3 doctors, members of a special safety committee, convened last month to assess the safety of the products. Shows that there was no excess danger. However, other research indicates from an FDA commission study that there is one. They voted 15-11. All 3 of the doctors who were getting do-re-mi voted with the majority. The FDA says members of the public speaking before advisory committees must declare financial relationships in the relevant drug maker to ensure transparency. However, committee members must disclose potential conflicts only to who? The FDA, which doesn't generally make that information available to the public. Now, it's interesting to note that while the FDA allowed the 3 to vote, the agency removed the voting rights of another panel member, public interest doctor Sidney Wolf, because he had publicly criticized the drug safety in newsletters published to the public in his Public Citizen Health Research Group findings. There you have it. It's nice to know. Pot smoking does not damage lung health. Smoking the occasional joint doesn't seem to have any detrimental effects on lung health, a new study suggests. Researchers found several measures of lung health actually improved as young people reported using more marijuana, at least up to a couple of thousand joints in a lifetime. A couple of thousand of anything seems to be too much. Even Twinkies, as good as they are. Did you see Twinkies? Hostess files for Chapter 11 protection? The Twinkies lasted longer than the company.
With all
There's
the
a
obese
twist.
people, you'd think that the Twinkies would be the last to go.
Have you ever had a deep-fried Twinkie? Come on, answer the question. Have you ever had a deep-fried Twinkie?
No.
Which is maybe something that you've had after you've smoked pot. But a deep-fried Twinkie, that's like home. That's like an old sweater. I mean, that's just one of those things. Ooh, have you had deep-fried pizza? That's an outstanding little taste treat. Again, something that might even be more tasty after the potentiality that you smoked a joint. They say, while marijuana smoke has a lot of the same toxins as cigarette smoke, people who use pot tend to smoke fewer joints each day than tobacco users smoke cigarettes. That and the method of inhaling may offer some relative lung protection, but the findings do not let marijuana off the hook for long-term health consequences. The new data comes, long-term study, 5,000 young adults, Oakland, Chicago, Minneapolis, and Birmingham. The researchers found that the more cigarettes smoked, the worse their lungs performed on both tests, but moderate levels of pot smoking did not seem to hurt lung function. Lung volume and airflow rates both increased with each joint year. The equivalent of 365 joints or pipe bowls, participants said they had smoked up to around 2,555 joints. The findings did not mean that people should smoke marijuana to improve lung function, because pot might irritate the lungs in the short term and cause problems for people who have asthma. Might. Smoking weed. It's just not my thing. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I'll try to, but I didn't inhale like old Bubba Clinton there. But at some point, it just, certain things don't work for you, and it's time to put the toys away. I realized that I had reached my limitation when I stripped off all my clothes when I was dog mushing in Alaska, because I was feeling one with nature.
Poor dogs.
And you got to talk about dogs that can run really fast. These dogs turned around and saw me, your 6'3" ATM of Informacion, standing on the sled behind them, buck naked, as I was traveling throughout the glaciers in Alaska. And so that was pretty much, I realized at that point that I'll just stick to the bourbon because I seem to be in a little bit more control of my faculties. But I do have a picture that was taken by a friend of mine as they came up behind me, literally on the sled behind me, and snapped off a picture of yours truly in the buff as I was communing with nature in the frozen tundra of Alaska. It's kind of a unique experience, but yeah. I think what got me was when they put me in the helicopter. I was sitting in the front of the bubble, and they put Enya in my cans as we were taking off, and I was hearing sail away, sail away, sail away, and I was like, oh, and you start to see those glaciers just, and then we landed, and I was like, oh, Annie Am, there's no place like home. It was tremendous. But yeah, so there you have it. Okay. Speaking of people who must be stoned, last night in the after, you think John McCain smokes pot? You think he's ever smoked pot? Probably, right? My friends, because everybody's your friend when you're stoned, right? You're not going to go out and become an axe murderer. But John McCain must be smoking pot. In the aftermath of last night's Mitt Romney's decisive victory in New Hampshire, I was listening to the arrogant establishment SOB, Johnny McAmnesty, talking about just where we're at in this whole political process. Take a listen to this clip of John McCain saying just about how well they've done and whether or not it's over.
We'll be working hard in South Carolina and Florida, but I think there is an opportunity. I know they don't want me to say this, that we could wrap this thing up more quickly than we originally thought.
Really? I'm listening to this guy, and I'm thinking, who the hell do you think you are? Are you drinking? Are you smoking crack? Are you hitting the pipe? I mean, what the hell are you doing? We had two states with 400,000 maybe combined voters in Iowa and New Hampshire. And here's Johnny McAmnesty, who took an old-fashioned political ass-kicking from a socialist president now that we have, indicating he was a socialist before he became the president. And Johnny McAmnesty is deciding, well, Iowa, New Hampshire, 400,000 votes. My friends, it's over. Really? Now listen to the arrogance in clip 4 here about when you and I think it's over, when the media thinks it's over, but when the establishment decides it's over.
Ron Paul stayed on for a long time. Huckabee stayed on for a long time in 2008. But frankly, when you all judge the race to be over, it almost is irrelevant as to whether they actually, quote, stay in the race or not.
You establishment SOB. Who do you think you are to tell us, the other 309,600,000 people in this country, that it's over? And of course, if I hear it's over, if ever there's an opportunity for me to have a cheap tie-in to one of my favorite movies, Animal House, I give you John Blutarsky that tells you and I that we don't have to listen to the establishment hacks like Johnny McAmnesty. No, it's over when we decide it's over, not when they decide it's over.
Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
German? Forget it, he's rolling.
The Germans invaded Pearl Harbor. It doesn't matter. We were on a roll. And now Johnny McAmnesty and the Republican establishment machine, the king and queen makers, the star makers, have decided that it's Mitt Romney's turn. After we had Johnny McAmnesty, after we had Bob Dole, after we had. And here we have the arrogance of the establishment on display to tell us, like it's some kind of Yul Brynner, like he's some pharaoh in the Ten Commandments. Johnny McCain has heard the words, and in the words of Yul Brynner, he said,
so let it be done.
Let it be written, so let it be done. There it is. The script has been written. And if you listen to Romney's victory speech after the New Hampshire primary last night, this wasn't a speech you give after a primary where it's 2 states down and 48 to go, 400,000 voters down, 309,600,000 people left in the country still to decide. This was the coronation. This was the victory speech. This was the speech that I was expecting you would hear from the Republican nominee at the convention in April, not in the coronation of New Hampshire after so relatively few people have had their voice heard as to who it is they think should be the Republican nominee going forward. Wrap up the nomination soon. You know what? This is a call to arms, folks. This is where we have got to tell them they don't decide for us. We decide for them. We tell them what we want. And this is something that we have to get involved in. This is something that we have to push to the convention. If you're for Gingrich, if you're for Santorum, if you're for Perry, if you're for Huntsman, or like I am for Ron Paul, this is something where we have to force this through the convention, because the conventional wisdom is when the king and queen makers decide that it is written and so let it be done, it is time for us to do what we need to do, which is to stand up to the forces of the establishment, the status quo, that have given us debts and deficits and generational bankruptcy as far as the eye can see, that have rewarded the good old boy and gal network, that have rewarded the few at the expense of the many. And it's time for the many to say, regardless of what you think it is, you have no idea that the fight has just begun.
The Jerry Doyle Show.
Over! You know that John Blutarsky's character in the movie Animal House went on to be Senator Blutarsky, who I would follow more so than Senator Johnny McAmnesty.
Who's with me?
Who's with me?
Come on!
Let's go! Run out the room. Right through the walls, through the windows, through the halls, the streets, the highways, and the byways of America. Peter Farrar is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Romney the Rhino. Bruce Fine, Senior Policy Advisor to Ron Paul, is going to join us in the next hour, and you can do that now at 800-876-4123. Jerry Doyle.